maybe. It depends where you are in the world, where you're watching this. You know, I've sort of titled this Meet the Millionaires. You remember we had Roy Perez on, we had Lord Jeffrey Archer on, yes, the millionaire, a billionaire book author, and Charlie Mullins, the Pimlico plumber. And now we have a millionaire businessman. Let me just see something here. If we could title this show, we could call it Honesty Doesn't Always Pay, I suppose. That would be a good name for it. I'm delighted to greet and bring on Gerald Ratner to join us here on the beautiful Costa del Sol. Gerald, you're very welcome.
Thank you, Maurice, for inviting me. I wish I was in Spain rather than England, although it's quite sunny now.
That's a lovely little dog you have there in the background. What's his name?
His name is Bear. He's nearly 13, so he's doing really well. And I love him. He's just fabulous personality. He understands everything I say, you know. He's incredibly intelligent.
Oh, so, lovely. Okay, you know, this interview could be really titled, the title of your book, if you want, The Rise and Fall and Rise Again, talking about how you made it. Congratulations to all your tremendous success. And it's really the story of that when you're down, you need to pick yourself up. And no one knows better than I do, I can tell you. Pick yourself up and move forward and move on with life instead of sitting around being miserable. Okay, you're described as a British businessman and motivated speaker. Do you travel when you motivate speaking? I mean, do you go around the world doing it, or are you just sticking around the UK?
Yeah, no, I do travel around the world. Obviously not at the moment. So I'm looking forward to doing it again because I love doing it. Last year, I was in the Cayman Islands mentoring, and it was on the Sunday, the guy who invited me to do it said to everybody, we'll have a day off tomorrow, which I knew we were going to have the day off on the Sunday because I was flying to Dallas, Fort Worth to do a speech. So I had to get there and back in 24 hours. So that's quite normal. I did 3 in Manchester, 3 in one day, again last year, 1 in Manchester, 1 in Sheffield and 1 in London, all in one day. So I get around doing these speeches and I really enjoy it and really miss it at the moment.
Well, let's just look at you just a little bit, if you don't mind. We'll go right back in time to you were, well, not a barrow boy as such, but you worked on the lane, didn't you, Petticoat Lane? What were you doing? Because here in Marbella, we have a lot of people from London, a lot of very successful people from London, and a lot of them started on the barrow, or whatever I'm an old Irishman, I don't know what you call it, but on the lane selling there. What did you sell and what did you do? Was it jewelry?
Well, I didn't work there, but what I've said, and I think it's in my Wikipedia entry, is that I used to be taken down there every Sunday morning to Petticoat Lane by my father. Used to love it. The thing that I noticed is basically that the person, you had all the different stalls selling different sort of stuff there. One guy was selling crockery, a whole tea set and stuff like that. And he put on a whole show. And basically I learned a lot from that. And the ones that really attracted the big crowds are the ones that shouted the loudest. It wasn't the wallflowers. It was the ones that had the patter. And that's a long time ago. I'm 71, so it would have been about over 60 years ago. But even with social media and everything else, and the world has changed and the internet, things are still exactly the same. It's the one in business that shouts the loudest that gets the most customers.
Absolutely. You are famous for being a jeweler. That's a small term to describe you. H. Samuels, etc., shops everywhere. And I believe in my hometown, didn't we have a H. Samuels in Dublin as well, as I remember?
Yeah. We Dublin. Yeah, it was. Dublin was a very difficult market. Very, very difficult. We did very, very well in Belfast, but not so well in Dublin.
We have the Jamisons, of course, who are friends of mine, and I'm sure they had the Jamisons jewelry, and I suppose they came. Well, you had a very specialized market, and from what I understand, your dad wasn't too keen on you, the way that you marketed your company rather than he felt in a way maybe we're bringing it down market a little by talking about cheaper goods and low price goods. And he didn't always agree with you at the beginning, did he?
No, he didn't agree at all. But I mean, in fairness, he'd built up this business, but it was suffering and making losses. And I felt that we had to change dramatically, because at the time, in the early 80s, all the jewelers felt that the way to succeed was to be very posh, look like a bank, prestige, all that sort of stuff. But the demographics were such then that it was the young people, unlike today, where it's the old people that got the money, but it was the 16 to 24s that suddenly had disposable income. And they were spending money in places like Next and Topshop and Dixon's and stuff like that, just on impulse. And we weren't getting any of this boom that the 80s was delivering, because they felt the jewelers there was a threshold barrier. They felt that, you know, they were going to have to spend a lot of money to go into a jeweler's shop. I mean, they were right, because jewelers were selling very expensive products. So I changed all that, although, you know, that didn't do anything for the prestige, putting posters up and playing pop music and making sure that managers didn't wear suits. But we lowered the prices, we changed the product. And, you know, immediate people's, not only my father, but everybody's reaction was, well, you're ruining this business. But yeah, I said, well, that's why we're 40% up.
Yeah, also, I think that you were marketing to the young couples, working class couples, jewelry, their engagement, I suppose. They could afford a decent engagement ring. It turned into a huge business, Gerald. The Ratner Group. I think in America you had about 1,000 shops as well, on top of all the shops that you have in the UK. So, Gerald, where did it all go wrong?
Yeah, well, you're right. I mean, it was a loss-making business that was going nowhere, and people forget that it became the world's largest jewelers from a very low base, my father's business. And,
until when?
Yeah, I'm coming to that, Morris. In fact, I congratulate you for taking so long to mention it. It's normally the very first question that people ask.
Oh, well, we thought we'd massage you into it, you see.
Yeah, you did. But it's worth remembering what went before. It's a bit like the Titanic.
Yeah.
Hundreds of miles of pleasurable sailing before it hit the iceberg. So, yeah, we'd announced the day before I was invited to make a speech at the Albert Hall the day before.
You're looking down, Gerald. Do you forget the words that you used? Do you want me to help you at all?
No, you can if you want. But no, we just announced profits of 125 million, which was 30 years ago. Yeah, so I mean, that's like $1 billion today, probably. And there's not many retailers that are making that sort of money. So anyway, I felt that it would be appropriate to make a couple of jokes in the speech. I wasn't initially going to do jokes, but one of my colleagues suggested to me that when I sent a draft of my speech, that I should put in the joke. And I said, well, the joke that I've always used was, we sell a pair of gold earrings for 99p, which is the same price as a prawn sandwich from Marks and Spencer's. But the sandwich would probably last longer than our earrings, which is self-promotion.
And the crystal, and the tray.
I'm going to that. Okay. That was the mistake. I probably would have just about got away with the prawn sandwich joke because it was funny, and the sherry decanter joke was not particularly funny, unless you're a retailer that understood why I made that joke. But yeah, I said that we sell a sherry decanter complete with 6 glasses on a silver-plated tray that your butler can serve you drinks on, all for £12.95. And how can we sell that for such a low price? Because it's crap, of course. The joke was, which nobody got, was in the retail business, people always ask you, it's like a standard thing, how can you sell it for such a low price? And we just come up with ridiculous answers like, oh, we buy in bulk, or something like we cut out the middleman, or something like that. So I said, why do we sell it at such a low price? Because it's crap. Which was not a reflection on anything else that I sold in the shop, jewelry. But of course, the next day the papers were full of the fact that apparently I'd said everything I sell is crap, and all my jewelry is crap, which of course I never said. And to this day, it's reported that I said that. So, you know, these things never get reported accurately. I'm sure
Yeah,
Marianne.
that's your business anyway, I suppose. That's the best way of putting it to you. Was your dad alive at the time?
Yeah, he was actually at the Albert Hall, and he
What
thought
did
it
he
was a
have
great
to say to you?
like everybody else. Nobody in the Albert Hall that day thought there was anything untoward about what I said.
Okay.
They thought it was just a joke. He was in the audience. It wasn't until he read the papers the next day.
He gave it to you. Did he get up to your room? Go to your
No,
room, you say.
no. He was
Anyway,
very sympathetic. The only person that was annoyed was me. You know, I was annoyed with myself because it was a dumb thing to say. I should never have made that joke and given the tabloids the opportunity to be disingenuous. But no, it was. Everyone was very supportive.
if you hear a little buzzing in the background, it's my phone on silence, and I threw it on the sofa. And if anyone hears it, don't worry about it. Anyway, look, let's move on because there's so much more to your life. You did, you know, it wasn't an overnight success of you picking up. Did you suffer from depression at that time? Did you suffer at all yourself when everything went down?
Yes, I battled on for 18 months. It was eventually, I had this brilliant idea of bringing in a chairman to help me, because I was a chairman and chief executive, to sort of distance myself, and he could deal with the banks and all that sort of stuff. But he fired me. So, yeah. So, I mean, I was advised to hire a chairman. So there's a sort of moral in that story. Don't listen to advisors all the time, because sometimes advisors are not there to help you, they're there to help themselves. But I started going to see a psychiatrist because I'd lost everything I had. The shares had gone down to 2p. And 1 minute I was retailer of the year, and the next minute I was public enemy number one. And I was people were making jokes about me at bar mitzvahs and weddings, and it was just too much to bear. I don't know about funerals, but I felt like I was at my own funeral. And so I went to see a psychiatrist. She put me on I was going to say Prozac, but that's not right, is it? Yeah, Prozac. I know I was going to say Viagra. It's definitely not Viagra. Prozac. So I get my.
I might have given you a lift to the Viagra, if you don't mind me saying.
I would have done better with. I'm not saying that Prozac's not good for some people, but it wasn't good for me, and I don't know about Viagra. But anyway, so the reason was I didn't feel as bad, but I needed to get back on my feet again, and I was a bit of a gloof with this antidepressants, because I was just never speaking, and I just sort of never just sort of sitting around happy with myself. So I then started cycling just to pass the time, really, because I was unemployed. I didn't have anything to do, and that got me into health and fitness, which I still am in today. And I felt if I was going to go back into business, it would be in that field, and that's when I decided to open up a health club.
Coincidentally, you know, I was watching a program on Channel 4 last night called Rich House, Poor House, I think it was called. I'm not sure what it was, what the actual name is when they swap from someone, a wealthy guy, swaps and goes and lives in the poor, the people who have no money, and the people who have no money go and swap with that family. And the guy was a motivated speaker, the wealthy guy, and he runs some sort of I don't know, property business. But he liked the couple who had no money, the young couple who had no money so much, he started to motivate them. And the first thing he told them to do was to get fit, to go out and run, to get fit. It gets your mind into the right position.
Absolutely. And that's what got my mind sorted out. And to this day, I get my best ideas on my bike or out walking. When you're sort of asked questions in the boardroom, it's very difficult to come out with the right answers. But when you're out on your bike and you haven't got any distractions, it comes to you. And you got to, when I was in my situation, never mind the fact that I'd lost all my money or anything like that, I had no chance of getting back unless I got my head right. And the only way to get your head right is to exercise. And quite frankly, going through this isolation, I would have gone. I'm somebody who likes sort of socializing and networking and all that sort of stuff. So if it wasn't for exercise, I would go completely bonkers.
Were you really broke? I mean, often you hear about people who were worth many millions, as you were, and then they talk about going broke. What was being broke to you?
Well, the broke to me was that the shares had gone down from £4.50 to 2p, and I had all my money in shares. I then got a tax bill for £1 million because I had share options, which were worthless, but you have to pay on the price they were converted at, which was before the speech. I had to sell my house. I was in negative equity. If you add up everything I had about minus £100,000. My bank manager in those days, it wasn't computers that made decisions. He lent me £500,000 to buy a house for £400,000. And then, so I was completely wiped out, completely skinned, bearing in mind the fact, that I had all that money before. It was quite a shock to the system.
How did it affect your wife, your marriage?
Well, everybody said to me, your wife has stood by you and it's fantastic.
Doesn't work that way sometimes.
Well, I was surprised that people even said that, because I didn't think, if you lost all your money, why should your wife walk out on you? Unless, of course, she married you for money. But then,
did she walk out on you?
That was one good thing that came out of it. I realised that she didn't marry me for money, because I was, at the top of my game when I met her. She was my secretary, actually. I was already married, but she's still here to this day. We celebrated 30 years of marriage last year.
I saw you in the papers the other day, and I thank you for the invite for the little garden party that you had. It looked delightful. And so does your house look, a little country house that you have there.
Yes, yeah, it was nice to have guests round again, even, having the family round on Easter Sunday, and it makes you appreciate sort of things.
Maybe next year I always say this to Jeffrey Archer, he has a scrambled egg Christmas Day, and yet he always promises that I can come, but this time yes. I couldn't come. Look, let's move forward to success.
You're always welcome.
Thank you.
You're more than welcome.
Thank you. Let's move forward to success. Gerald Online. Let's talk about that. Because, just before you tell me about it, we were talking here about COVID. We're talking, not with you, but I was talking about COVID a lot on these interviews. And we're talking about one of the things is mindset. What's happened is that for example, it started with our airline tickets. You remember buying them online and thinking, oh my God, this will never work, when you go down with a piece of paper and you're in that line when you used to get it from the travel agent. And now that you're shopping online, Amazon's doing rather well. Your mindset now is doing online is this must be very good for your business.
Well, it's not actually, because people are not.
Just cover the paper.
The reason being is that people are not getting married or getting engaged. And,
good point.
And the most profitable product that you sell is your most expensive one, which is your diamond rings. So those sales have, and it's not just us. I mean, there's a general look at De Beers figures; they're ghastly. There's been a general decline in that. But I'm not moaning. I've lost my speaking business, which was incredibly lucrative.
Yeah.
I've lost my jewelry business. Well, I haven't lost them permanently, but they've been all suspended. So I've got no income. So everyone always said you had 3 streams of income coming in. That's so clever. But I didn't think I'd lose all 3 of them. But I don't want to sound like...
yes, you're upsetting me a little, Gerald, I must tell
Yeah, I don't want you to start doing a whip round for me.
Yes, well, maybe people who will be listening to this, maybe we can do a collection. I'll look after it for you in Marbella.
Yeah. No, I've been through worse. It put me in good stead, the fact that when I lost my job and I was self-isolating before it was a thing. So, after I lost my job, I didn't really do much for 7 years. I didn't even go out much. I didn't want to play anymore. So I'm used to this, and I know that when you get back up there, you appreciate things much more. So I'm hoping that in the autumn, when I do speeches again and people are starting buying stuff again, that, you know, it'll be a very happy time for me.
Are you surprised at the successes of online, for example, Amazon?
No, because I went into online business when it was unfashionable in 2001. Not a lot of people are buying it. So I knew that the high street was dead. And I knew that people would start buying stuff online because it's just such an easy, fantastic thing to do. I mean, the shops started opening today, and I went in the shops, and I was going to buy this shirt, and I thought, well, I can't be bothered to carry it home, so I just went home and ordered it online. It's a bit, you know, ridiculous. The shops are now open. It's just so convenient, and the service that you get is not great. It's not great in the shops, you know, with the people, you know.
Online, the service you're getting from Amazon's unbelievable.
It's fantastic.
Speed
of delivery, and then if you change your mind, you can cancel it or send it back, no quibbles. You can find out if you're buying a laptop, which I did recently. I found out everything I wanted to know. I remember buying a laptop about 10 years ago in a, well, I won't mention them because I'm going to criticize them. And the guy behind the thing didn't really know anything about it. He couldn't really, he wasn't trained properly in telling me about the laptop. But you know, if you're buying it online, you can become an expert in a very short space of time. So the reason that the high street is going to die and shops, and I walk down Oxford Street and half of them are shuttered today.
Very sad. Very sad.
It is sad, but the fact is that they didn't offer a great service. They had it too easy for too long.
Yeah. Tell me, just before we let you go, what about COVID? Have you had the old vax?
I've had one. I'm waiting. Everyone seems to be ahead of me on this, but I'm waiting for my second one on April the 28th. So that's fantastic. You know, amazing. I was so excited to have it, because I'm in the vulnerable age, and it's wonderful that I never thought it would happen, that, you know, that we would get a vaccine. So it's fantastic.
You're looking well, Gerald, if you don't mind. We're more or less the same age, and I know that you gasped when you had a look at me.
You look great, Maurice. You've always looked great.
Thank you, dear. You look very well. What about Marbella? Do you get down here at all?
Yeah, I do. I
Can I sell you something? Can we do a bit of business?
No, but I mean, I used to, you know, the thing about Marbella is that after a cold winter, just about, this is the time of the year, just about now, when you've gone through, and it's still bleeding cold here, and you get on that plane, and 2 hours later, you're sitting out on the Marbella Club on the terrace, having their Sunday buffet, looking at the sea, and you think you're in heaven. I mean, it is just, and you know, you can't do that in the south of France because it's not hot enough in April. But that, and there's no better feeling than suddenly, after 6 months of being in freezing cold, to go out there and sit in the sun and be served a lovely bottle of wine and having a lobster or something like that. Oh my God. And I missed that this year.
There is a big demand. You know, that the property market at the moment is quite buoyant, especially the top end of the market. We're selling to people from Belgium, from Sweden, I have clients here from Hungary at the moment, and from Poland. Tomorrow my clients are from Sweden. I think that their mindset is, we can work from Marbella. We're now used to working from home. We can work from Marbella. So remember, Gerald, I have some very nice properties for you.
I love it. The trouble is with me is I get homesick. I love my holidays.
I'll get you back on a plane anytime you want. Don't you worry.
Yeah, no, I'm so looking forward to traveling again. So this year is the first year we will not be going, you know, to either Portugal or Spain or somewhere like that. We're going to Cornwall instead. Don't laugh.
You get some clotted cream down there or something. Look, the vaccine, what's your view on these? You've probably seen that I'm a huge person who's very anti-vaxxers and the conspiracy theorists and all. You know, I think that there should be a jail sentence for these people who are spreading misinformation, dangerous misinformation about this. And of course, the great loss of Pierce Morgan, and I can't finish up without mentioning, of course, you lost Prince Philip, and I yesterday gave condolences to my English clients, English friends, a great loss to the country. I thought he was
wonderful man, wonderful man.
yeah, wonderful guy. Well, look, so when I see you when you come down, maybe you can give me a call. And
I would love to do that. Would love to do that. Yeah, no, I mean, I'm doing mentoring, and this woman is, she's a cleaner. She employs 17 people, and she won't take the vaccine, and her clients won't allow her into the premises.
Right.
So she's packing up her business. I said, you've got responsibility to those staff and to your family. That should come first. You cannot afford principles. You cannot afford ethics. Business comes first. And I'm sorry to say that, but that's the way it is.
No jab, no job. This is what Charlie Mullins, Pimlico plumbers. Charlie said that all his plumbers will be jabbed. They'll all have the jab, and they make the clients aware. If I knew there was a plumber coming to my house and he had been jabbed, and I knew there was another plumber being offered that hadn't been, I'd take the plumber that had the jab. Of course, I would go in an airline if it insisted on the jab. I would also go into a restaurant that insisted. No one that doesn't, I wouldn't go in. That's just my point of view.
Well, I think actually most people are in favour of the passports, of the vaccine.
Absolutely. Well, in Israel now, they've been so successful there, they're not asking for the passport anymore, and that's what will happen. They'll ask for the passport for the first year, and then everything's fine, and they will not ask for the passport then. And down the road here in Gibraltar, you probably know that the whole adult population of Gibraltar has been vaccinated, and everything. No one's in hospital down there now. No COVID. So the proof is there. It's great to speak to you, and luckily we're sort of winding up before your wife arrives down and Bear starts barking, I think. But I'd like to say hello to her, of course, if she'd been coming in. From the,
she's camera shy.
Have you got your health centre still?
No, I sold that for £3.9 million.
Oh, gee.
And I didn't have to pay any tax on it because I've lost so much money in the past that I could just if you have losses, you offset them indefinitely. So there you are.
Okay, well, listen, have a great, did you have a nice Pesach? Did you enjoy a good Pesach?
I did, and you should never forget your roots. I'm not very religious, but I definitely, when there's Pesach, I will, go to synagogue or whatever.
Good. And Yom Kippur and Rosh Hashanah. Also, I just had my last matzah brie the other day. I'm trying to get back to movement in my life. You know what I mean? So, sorry.
I shouldn't mention when we're talking about Pesach and everything. I shouldn't have mentioned eating a lobster in.
I heard that clearly, and now when I edit the whole thing, I'm going to highlight it.
You see, I keep putting my foot. I still put my foot in it.
I remember once when I used to do my shows from Caesar's Palace once a year, and I remember Neil Sedaka coming in to do the show, and it was 11 in the morning, which was 9 in the evening here. Many years ago, and it was Pesach. And I could tell you a Pesach joke, but I've told it so many times before, but I'll tell you quickly. And those people have heard it, go away. When I was in Las Vegas, I got up for breakfast about 7 in the morning to the show at 10 o'clock. And I'm sitting in the empty, Caesar's Palace, I'm sitting in the empty room there having breakfast, and there was a Chinese waiter. And he came over and he poured the coffee or whatever juice, and I said to him, you wouldn't have matzah. You wouldn't have matzah. It was third day made Pesach. You wouldn't have matzah. And he said, Hormomant. And he disappeared. And he came back a couple of minutes later with a box of matzah sealed for Pesach. Sealed. I thought, well, a lot of Jews go to Las Vegas, obviously. So just as a matter of conversation, I said to him, do you have any, Chinese Jews? And he goes, oh, one moment. And he walked away, and I thought, God, I've insulted the man. He came back 2 minutes later. He said, no Chinese Jews, orange Jews, tomato Jews, apple Jews. Laugh louder.
Yeah, my joke's a bit quicker. Did you hear about this zoo that only had one animal in it, and it was a dog? It was a Shih Tzu.
Oh, very good. Not near as good as my joke. Anyway, that's it. I'm really looking forward to meeting you. I think we will become friends, and we'll have some dinner or some drinks. I'm not a drink. I'm an Irishman who doesn't drink. How about that?
Yeah, well, I'm a Jewish man that does drink. That's unusual in itself.
Well, you don't go to a pub.
Jews normally eat. They don't drink, they eat.
You don't go to a pub, do you?
No, I don't like pubs.
Yeah. See, Jewish
I
people
drink.
have to buy around. They don't go to pubs. And pubs are,
Somebody once thought, when I told them that I was Jewish, they thought, a Jew, never heard of that. I thought that's somebody who doesn't buy a round of drinks in the pub.
yeah,
So,
yeah. But in Las Vegas, they said, "Are you an Irish Jew?" And I'd say, "Yeah." And they say, "Hey, Hal, come over. Speak, Morris. Speak." I'd say, "Hello." See, he's Irish and he's a Jew. So I used to call myself the Leprechaun when I was in my sort of my tag name when I went out there. But we'll have a good laugh, I'm sure. Must tell you right now, the sun is absolutely beaming here this evening. Absolutely beautiful.
No, don't say that. That's
I'm
annoying.
looking at the sea. The sea is blue. The palm trees are swaying. And I might go to the beach and have some sardines.
Although I couldn't live there like you do all the year round. I like I couldn't live in anywhere other than England. I like.
You can travel from here. You can travel.
Yeah, I love, the beauty is that I can go there and come back.
This is great to speak to you. Thanks for joining us. And just stay where you are right there while I just.